Join Shelley Johnson and Kathy Tuccaro every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Central Time for Women Road Warriors on your driver navigation station, tncradio.live.
Welcome in, TNCRadio.live. We're live on a Wednesday night, and this is Clutch Time Sports with Anderson and Banker.
Well, thank you, Mr. Kelly. I so much appreciate that. Hello, truckers all over this beautiful world of America. I know I said world and America at the same time. It doesn't really go. Thank you for joining me on this Wednesday night. I'm your co-host, Ivan Anderson, with my main man, Mr. Josh Banker. JB, how you feeling tonight?
Oh, it's a Wednesday. That's for sure. Hump day.
Oop, oop, oop. Hey, JB, I got to send a shout out real quick because Angie and Larry always talk about us. And if you guys listen to the segment before we get on the air, Married to the Road, it's a really good show. And I love them, but I have to jazz Larry a little bit. We'll get into that a little later because he's a Raider fan. I'm a Steeler fan. And of course, Mr. Banker is a 49er fan. And we'll forgive Mr. Kelly for the kind of fan he is. His team doesn't do too well anyway, so we won't mention it.
Yeah, and if you're not a football fan this week is going to be an episode perhaps you're not going to be very excited about because this is going to be a fun show though. I'll tell you that because we've got some clips from back in August and September when we did our NFL preview show as we head to the playoffs upcoming this weekend. But first, Ivan, we got to talk about 65-7.
Ooh. Well, as I told you, as you and I will often talk before the show and after show and throughout the week, what we witnessed was the true separation that's going to happen in college football. As you know, the SEC and the Big Ten are creating their own Super PAC teams. They've got the Big Eight teams that are coming over to join them. I believe that's the Longhorns and the Sooners. And then you've got the Pac-10, the Big Ten that's going to have the Pac-12 teams of SC and UCLA come over and join them. And Bank, I'm telling you, man, I turned that game off at the end of the second quarter. I was done. I knew the game was over then. You saw, and you can't tell me you didn't, you saw a semi-pro football team versus a Division I college team.
Well, and I was thankfully blessed to be singing at church on Monday night, so I actually didn't get to see the debacle live, although between the buzz of my pocket with your texts and everything else going on that night, I felt like I was watching it anyway, but I could have had myself a pretty good nap that night if I really wanted to. But yeah, we kind of talked about this last week. I thought Ohio State was going to be the one team to really give Georgia the scare, I guess is probably the best word, before getting to the championship game. And I said last week, I thought that Ohio State woke up Georgia. Yeah. And, for as big of a deficit that this final game was, 58 points is ridiculous. It was a 10-7 game in the first quarter at one point.
Right.
And, for as much as we want to talk about Georgia having 589 total yards to 188 for TCU, let's not forget about the fact that the main, weapon in the chamber for Georgia has been their defense, and it's been that way for a couple of years. And lost in this deficit, I think, is just how good Georgia's defense actually was. Now, obviously, TCU's offense is not Ohio State's. It's just not. You don't have a Marvin Harrison Jr., among all the other weapons that C.J. Stroud had for Ohio State. But, again, I think the defense for Georgia woke up against the Buckeyes, and all of a sudden they laid an absolute whooping on the Horned Frogs.
They really did. And going back to, and I'm sorry to say that the Ohio State-Georgia game is more of a game of discussion than the TCU-Georgia game.
True, it is.
But there were really, I was rewatching the game before the championship game because I wanted to see, okay, what did Ohio State miss that kept them from beating this team? And what is TCU going to see to help them beat this team? And I saw three crucial mistakes from Ohio State. One was during the first half, Ohio State in the second quarter had a chance to score twice under the 4-minute mark. And they had a 4th and 1. And unfortunately, they had a man in motion who didn't get set. And they had a great quarterback sneak around the outside with Stroud. And they had a first down, but they got called back. I thought the coach made the error, say, you know what? It's 4th and 1. We know this team scores every time they touch the ball. You could see the momentum was starting to shift. They should have gone for it. They wind up scoring under the 4-minute mark. They gave them the lead going into halftime. And the other big thing I saw was they seemed to lose some confidence when Harrison Jr. got knocked out. And there was some other defensive mistakes that they made, I would say 1 or 2, that really cost them the game. But, man, what TCU did, outside of that first drive, which made it 7-7, it was a complete debacle. I mean, by the time the quarterback got the ball in the, he's not even under center. They were in the backfield, Josh.
Oh, yeah, and go ahead, Tom.
Let's go to the tape, shall we?
And game, real quick, guys. You got 1 minute. JB, what's going to happen Monday?
I think Georgia had their wake-up call against Ohio State. I think their defense is going to clamp down on Max Duggan of TCU. I see them winning by 2 touchdowns.
Mr. Anderson.
I'm gonna go with the under versus the over. TCU showed me that they have the best, most consistent hurry-up offense I've ever seen in college, and I think they're going to use that to their advantage against Georgia. If their running back is okay and healthy, that guy averages 4 to 5 yards a game. I say TCU wins this by a touchdown.
It's going to be a yawner. It's going to be the game we all expect it to be and wished it wasn't.
Oh, my goodness. You two were right.
Somebody get the name of that Mack truck that's out there on the road right now that just drove over Mr. Anderson right there.
Hey, I can take it. I said be by 7. They scored 7. That was it.
Yeah, that's true. Well, and you know what's interesting, Ivan, you kind of bringing this point up in your last point there. If you look back at the TCU-Michigan game, TCU absolutely 100% took advantage of Michigan's mistakes. Okay,
right,
and I think that was obviously the catalyst for them winning that game. Maybe the first drive was the point of that. I mean, Michigan,
yes.
4th down, running a trick play, and anyway,
right.
A team like Georgia very rarely makes those mistakes, and if you're not good enough to keep up with them without them making those mistakes, you're going to have a very hard time winning a game, and you can end up losing by 58 points.
Well, there again, like I said, we have the NIL in college football now, and you're going to see moving forward, this is going to be a big difference. You're going to be either playing for regular bowl games and making money, or you're going to be joining the SEC and the Big Ten, and you're playing for championships, because you cannot, the talent on the field, the defense, come on, 4 or 5 of those guys are going to be playing on Sunday for Georgia.
Oh, minimum.
Maybe 1 or 2 are going to be playing on Sunday for TCU. Big difference.
Well, you and I talked about this a little bit before we got on air, the fact that and this was something I didn't bring up to you during our conversation, but as the playoffs expand to 12 teams,
yeah,
you're going to have to be perfect a little bit more consistently than Georgia was, let's say, in that semifinal game against Ohio State. Because if they do exactly what Michigan did against TCU, any team can beat any team at any point. I mean, we've seen this before. We talked about this last week with Oklahoma losing to Boise State in the Fiesta Bowl back in the day. I mean, we've seen some upsets before. But you're right. If you're a program like Georgia, you're able to keep guys like Stetson Bennett, who in and of itself, he is such a great story.
He is.
Being a walk-on,
yep,
having it be his dream to be a Georgia quarterback, and then now back-to-back undefeated seasons as national champions. I mean, you can't write a better script than that. So you're going to probably see more programs like Georgia try to keep as many of these players as long as they possibly can. Now, it's probably not going to be as easy as it has been over the last few years with those NIL deals and everything else that's going around. But it speaks to the consistency that Georgia has had and how hard that really is. I mean, let's take Alabama. Alabama.
Thank you. There you go.
Has been the label of consistency for decades, and it just is hard to do. And it gets overlooked how good they've been over the last 10 years.
They have, and the SEC has just been on top of their game for a very long time. And I can't say anything against the SEC, nor can I say anything against the Big Ten. But I will say this: if the Big Ten wants to compete for championships, you've already wooed over USC and UCLA. You're going to have to put up points because the SEC puts up points. Give me a team in the SEC that does not put up points, JB.
That's true. But
Vanderbilt.
a team like yeah. Well, hey, they had a 2-game winning streak in the conference this year, so that's pointing in the right direction. But it also goes to the point that you have to have a pretty well-rounded team too, because Georgia's defense is just as good as any in the country, if not the best. So, I mean, yes, you have to put up points, but you also have to stop people too. And obviously, TCU and Ohio State to that point couldn't stop Georgia's offense either.
No. Well, I just figured out that the SEC and the Big Ten is going to be to the NFL what the developing league minor ball is to Major League Baseball. That's exactly what we're headed to. And on that note, we're going to take a break, and we're going to be back with some NFL previews, JB. I think we had some
spoiler alert.
You listen to Clutch Time Sports on TNCRadio.live.
For the latest in traffic, weather, and information, catch the Morning Grind weekdays right here on TNCRadio.live.
Living life on the road can be exhausting. It's not uncommon for truckers to live inside their truck more than their own home. Other than the essential clothing, hygiene, and sleeping items, here are some items every truck driver needs to make life on the road more pleasant and feel more like home. A seat cushion. Comfort is key when driving for 11 hours each day. Having a seat cushion can help with tailbone and back pain. It's also great for boosting overall mood while driving. A portable stove. Investing in a portable stove is a great way to start eating your favorite meals on the road. Eating the same fast food and gas station food gets old really quick. Before buying a portable cooker, you need to invest in a power inverter. A power inverter allows you to use your vehicle's battery to generate AC that can run many types of electrical devices. Car mount. Having a place to mount your cell phone or GPS can be extremely convenient and much safer for truck drivers. Coffee maker. There's nothing quite like a fresh cup of coffee in the morning. Staying awake and alert is crucial for truck drivers. Dash cam. A dash cam is a must-have gadget for your expensive truck. A high-quality dash cam can save you from many problems while traveling on the road. A cooler. Having a cooler on the road can save time and money. It also provides the option for truckers to eat healthier meals. Kathy Tuccaro is nothing short of amazing. She not only drives the world's biggest truck as a heavy equipment operator in northern Alberta, Canada. She's an international motivational speaker and the author of Dream Big, an autobiography about overcoming a lifetime of trauma and abuse that led to dreams of success. Kathy inspires people the world over to change their lives and improve their self-worth. Her book will change your life. She's passionate about personal growth and believes anyone can change their circumstances and overcome their obstacles if they believe in themselves. Her life will amaze you and seriously inspire you. Be sure to order a copy of her book, Dream Big, on Amazon.com.
Welcome in, TNCRadio.live. This is Predictions, Right or Wrong. And I'm your game show host here. We'll be talking about how the guys did on their predictions looking into the NFL season. If they did well, we'll give them this. If they didn't do well, they get this. And sometimes they got part of it right. So
Sound like about Family Feud.
Yeah, exactly. So let's see how they did. Here we did, starting off talking about the Raiders.
The biggest problem I have with the Raiders is Derek Carr. You know, everyone wants to, and I know we're not talking about that right now, but everybody always wants to talk about Lamar Jackson. And it's time for him to step up. How long has Derek Carr been in the NFL?
Long time.
Okay. So why do we keep thinking that Derek Carr is something different?
Well, I mean, he's got better weapons now, for one, for sure. What's going to be, I think, real interesting more than anything in this division is now Josh McDaniels, the head coach of the Raiders. Can he bring a stability offensively that perhaps John Gruden hadn't had over the past few seasons before he had to get let go last year? So it'll be really interesting. They're definitely the wild card of this division.
All right. I think on that one for sure, we have to give Mr. Anderson.
Thank you.
Agreed.
Well done. Next.
The AFC East, and I think they do better than 11-6. I think Miami is going to have some struggle depending on how healthy Tua really is. And I think Tua's got to trust himself like he did when he was at Alabama. He trusts himself in Bama.
And again, I think we have to give Mr. Anderson.
Yes.
That semi-truck that ran him over in the segment is back.
The
Texans, could they be the surprise of the AFC this year? Probably not. Lovie Smith is in at head coach. They extended Brandon Cooks, who's their biggest primary weapon for their quarterback, Davis Mills. They've got a young running back, Damian Pierce, who could be exciting to watch, but they've got a lot of growing up to do, and they're just going to have a lot of hurdles to grow around it. And you know, maybe Deshaun Watson being gone now will help keep the distractions away, but I think if I'm putting more money on anybody to be a surprise in this division, it's Jacksonville. I mean, if Trevor Lawrence can make the leaps that he needs to do, he's got much better help on the offensive line now.
All right, so I'm going to have to give Mr. Banker. And
yes, good job.
You got one of each. Coming up next here, the tape says
Baltimore's going to be an interesting place this year because Lamar Jackson is going to be without Marquise Brown, who's now out to Arizona. They're getting some of their their running backs back. J.K. Dobbins, Gus Edwards coming back from injury, but they haven't signed Lamar Jackson to an extension on his contract. So is that going to be looming over them throughout the season? They were only 8-9 last year. I don't know that they get much better than that.
And what was their record this year?
10-7.
Lamar Jackson needs a serious offensive coordinator. I don't think he has one. I don't think the coordinator that's there actually knows how to use his skills and his ability. You try to make him a pocket quarterback. He's not a pocket quarterback. He never will be a pocket quarterback. I think he has a lot more ability and accuracy in his arm, but you got to get it out of him. I don't see them doing no more than maybe 9 wins, maybe 10. They might squeak by. Oh, no, actually, they will get 10 wins.
If you go down to the
How about that? All right, let's talk about Philadelphia
Eagles, who were 9-8 last year, they have reloaded and they got another stud wide receiver as A.J. Brown comes from the Tennessee Titans to go alongside second-year guy Devontae Smith. And you got Jalen Hurts, who's going to have another year under his belt as well. There are a lot of people that think that they are the sexy pick in this division to be better than Dallas. So I think the Cowboys need to be, close to that 12-5 record again, because I can't see the Eagles with less than double-digit wins this year.
Yes, sir. Good job, JB.
Wow, 12-5 on the dot for the Cowboys.
Yeah.
By the
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
By the
Yeah,
way,
you were.
12-5 on the dot.
I don't know. My money is that Jalen Hurts has a better year than he did last year. I thought he was very poised last year. I mean, you've got a great wide receiver, Devontae Smith, and let's remember how long these guys have been together. These guys started off at Bama together. There's only been really a solid year, I would say, that he's not played with Jalen Hurts.
All right.
Thank you.
So, I mean, if you guys think about it so far, I'm not keeping the total, but a lot more dings than buzzers.
I'm waiting for the avalanche coming from the other
I
side.
am
and
too.
if you look at the rest of this division, it's kind of similar to the NFC East in a way, because the Minnesota Vikings, who were 8-9 last year, are almost becoming like the Eagles are in the East, one of those sexy sleepers, so to speak, to sneak up on Green Bay this year and possibly take this division.
You nailed that one. That was
Nailed
nice.
it.
You always think of the Steelers and the Bears defensively first, and they just
do.
have not had that in Chicago. They traded away Khalil Mack already.
Yes, they
They
did.
got him from the Raiders. They sent him off to the Chargers. And their stud linebacker now, Roquan Smith's already asking for a trade, although I think that's been kind of squashed over the last couple of days. But there's just so many more questions than answers for Chicago this year. And they were 6-11 last year, so I'm not sure that I think much higher of them this year than that 6-11 record.
I do. And the reason that I do is because, when Smith was demanding this trade, he noticed that, they have a young GM. I think he's like 36 or 38 years old. And he's been quoted as saying he's looking out for the whole team. He's trying to build a bigger team. And I'm one of those that believe in allowing the team to evolve from their history. Chicago Bears, as you just said, Midway, who they are in defense, Buckets, and all these other guys. I think they're going away from that. I think when you have a Justin Fields out there as talented as he has, when you have a Darnell Mooney and you've got a consistent right back of David Montgomery in the backfield, you're telling everybody in the NFC North, we are now going to be an offensive-minded team, and we're coming out to put points on the board.
Hey, I thought Justin Fields could get it done.
Because I'll just give you a little spoiler.
Yeah. Big time fail. Big time fail on that one. But you weren't alone on that one. There are a lot of people who got snookered in by that.
Oh,
Well, and that's going to be a topic for next week, I think, at some point,
Yeah.
talking about the number one pick that Chicago has now that Houston, for whatever reason, decided to put in their best game of the year against Indianapolis in the final. But that's another story.
Yeah, we do need to talk about that. Don't get me started on that one.
For now, Detroit, who was 3-13-1 last year. I don't think they get to 500, but I think that they at least double their win total.
Because they got above 500.
Yeah,
they got above 500.
So I got to give you both the bell and I guess you can actually get one of these. All right.
On with the Saints, I could see them winning 10 games if Winston stays healthy this year, but I don't know that they have any chance of dethroning Brady as long as he stays healthy.
No, I don't. And if they put up 10 games, great for them. Jameis Winston is on his way to being a good quarterback, a consistent quarterback. But this franchise is in a rebuilding.
Yeah, I would have to say that was true.
They are in a rebuilding year. You can see it.
It's really hard to win back-to-back anything in professional sports. So the question is, do they have the desire, now that they've kind of quenched that thirst a little bit, is it really there to win another Super Bowl? And my odds are that the Rams are not going to win another Super Bowl. And it has nothing to do with all the talent on the field and the ability. I just think that when you go up so high, it takes a while to regroup yourself and come back. So I think they go kind of the same, 12-5, or they might go 11-6. But do they win a Super Bowl? No. Do they get to the conference final? This year, I'm going to say no.
Ooh, okay.
I was sizzling a little bit on that.
No,
Yeah, I mean, well, I don't think anybody could have predicted that they would be as bad as they turned out to be. I mean, the record.
Well, injuries are the huge problem there. But
yeah,
yeah,
but, you know, that's what I'm saying. Nobody could have predicted that. You know, that nobody had them 5-12 was their final record.
No.
Yep.
Yeah. So.
Yep.
But I did have them. There's no way in the world I could see them in the conference finals.
Yeah.
At all.
You got that right.
We're having Baker Mayfield as a
answer it.
back for the last.
But let's talk about your 49ers. Let's talk about your 10-7 49ers, who, in my opinion, had a great quarterback in Jimmy G. I don't know what everybody is so angry. If you look at his numbers, I think his numbers are equal or better than Dak Prescott, and yet they get rid of him. Like, getting rid of him is all of a sudden going to give them a Super Bowl.
Well, they didn't get rid of him, and what happened next? Let's see.
Way the 49ers, if they get back to the Super Bowl, it's going to be because of their defense first, and then Trey Lance making the plays that he needs to get them the wins.
Ivan, we have kind of talked about the AFC and NFC breakdowns over the last couple of weeks. Who do you see as your possible NFC and AFC breakout stars for this year?
I'm kind of putting house money on one guy.
Okay.
And that's because I watched his career starting at QB1, which was a documentary that followed some of the top prospects around the country, including our local school here, St. John Bosco. But this kid came out of Georgia, went to Georgia, transferred from Georgia to Ohio State, and landed with the Bears. I've got to go with Justin Fields.
Okay.
I think he is going to be a serious breakout star this year.
I keep meaning to push the buzzer over.
I am in the same category of player for the NFC breakout star. I'm going total homer here, and you'll know why in a few minutes. But it's Trey Lance of the San Francisco 49ers.
Come on. At least I picked a guy.
The keys to that car. I think he's ready, and he's going to be my breakout star for this year for sure.
No. Guys got both of those wrong.
Hey.
And I'm still have to go with the quarterback, Jackson. I think Lamar Jackson is on the cusp of just doing something just incredible. And yes, there is a theme here that
Okay, I can't decide on I think that's he did good.
Yeah.
He didn't have what I would call a breakout year. He did good. He was fine.
But nobody expected him to get hurt either.
No, but I'm just saying, for the year that he had, for when he did play, it wasn't, oh my gosh, Lamar Jackson. Oh, it was okay.
True. Very true.
We're not making any secrets. We're talking about quarterbacks, considering that they now are the $100 million players in the NFL. So that's my guy.
Okay, Lamar Jackson. All right, so I'm going a little bit off the rails here. I'm going to the wide receiver position. Gabriel Davis from the Buffalo Bills.
Ooh, in the middle there.
So now let's predict.
So, yeah, I mean, again, Gabe. No. Yeah, it was good. I think he really opened up stuff for what's his name?
Diggs.
Yeah, he was good enough that they couldn't always surround Diggs with the best. And I think your theory was really sound there, JB. I really do. I think the theory that you had was people are going to be so worried about Diggs, it's going to open up things for him, right? For Gabe. But that just didn't exactly happen. He really kind of opened up things more for Diggs to do even more of what Diggs does. Does that make sense?
Oh,
it does to me.
Well, he had 3 touchdowns in that AFC championship game that they ended up losing in overtime to Kansas City.
Right.
So it was one of those where, or sorry, not the championship game. It was the semifinal. So that was the theory behind all of that.
Right. No, and I think it's a solid theory, and I think Diggs is getting older. He's going to lose a step or two in the next year. or two. I can see next year it flips around, and Gabe ends up with twice the catches that Stephon does.
That could happen.
Yeah, it could happen as soon as next year, maybe 2 years out. We'll see. All right, we're almost there, guys. Bring it in, home stretch here.
To our champions of each conference are going to be NFC and AFC. Who you got?
Oh, boy. I'm going to start with the AFC, my favorite conference, although my Steelers aren't going to do anything for the next 3 or 4 years. I'm sorry, but I'm going to go with the Cincinnati Bengals.
Okay. I like that pick. I mean, they made the Super Bowl last year, and I think a lot of teams are still putting them under the radar. And I think they have a very good chance of getting back there.
I got to give at least some partial credit here. Okay, they didn't win it outright, but they're like second, right? Or third?
They're third, but I mean, at this point, that's still to be determined for sure.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
They're as hot as any team in the NFL right now. So
right.
I would have given him the middle of the road ding on that one, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's not fair in a way on that one. So, like I said, we got to give at least partial credit.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right. You keep going? You guys good to keep going?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and so who do you see out of the NFC?
Ooh, now that's a tough one. You and I had this discussion when we covered the NFC breakdown. And it just comes down to these 3 teams. It's really hard. I mean, if I looked at all 3 teams, JB, I'm going to put my money on the Arizona Cardinals.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Is that as many buzzers for same as how many wins they had? 4?
That was horrible.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
Wow.
I mean, just what else could have gone wrong? I mean, just deplorable.
Yeah, now their GM and their head coach gone.
Yeah. Yeah, my buddy Mike Bidwell, cleaning house over there.
They need Rod Tidwell is who they need.
Niners as the NFC champions and the Bills as the AFC champions. I think the AFC West teams are going to be beating the crap out of each other all season long, which gives Buffalo a chance to get that number 1 seed, and nobody wants to go to Buffalo in January. And I think that's going to be a huge home field advantage for them. And of course, I mean, hey, it's your show and my show, so I'm picking the Niners as the Super Bowl champions, of course.
Well, didn't they finish the year at 13-4 or no?
Yeah, no, they did.
Yeah, they're second seed.
They're second seed.
You got to give them.
They're playing in the wild card, so that's. I got to give you a little bit of that. I mean, you could have went off on the limit.
We know that buzzer was just to rile my feathers. I know what that's all about.
All right, guys. Hey, we're way overdue for a break, but that was worth it. Well, we'll talk about it when we come back. Let's take a break. We'll talk in just a few minutes. You're listening to TNC Radio.live, live on a Wednesday night. Stay tuned.
Hi, I'm Dr. Christopher Cortman, and now for the Mental Health Minute. I want to share a little secret with you about what keeps humans going well into their 80s and 90s. Are you ready for this? It's the perception, it's the belief that I still matter, I still have things to do, I'm still necessary. That's number 1. And number 2, that I'm connected to other people. Feeling necessary and connected is important in all stages of human development. But when we become seniors, it becomes even more important because seniors in our society very often feel put out to pasture, like nobody needs me anymore. And people, according to the research, are more likely to die when they don't feel like they're necessary or connected. Here's my advice. Always find something important for you to do. where you feel like you're necessary, you're needed, you're making a difference. And don't ever neglect the people in your life, the friends and the family that make life worth living.
Hot Shots Secret presents Steve Summers' Overnight Drive nightly at midnight Eastern, 11 Central on TNCRadio.live or download the app .tncradio.live.
Welcome back, TNC Radio.live, Clutch Time Sports with Anderson and Banker. And guys, I got to give you your props. That was, I'll be honest, I went through this multiple hours of transcripting and looking for the holes. And yeah, okay, you missed a couple of them, but I mean, on the task that you took on and the number of things that you got right, your rights certainly outmeasured your wrongs by quite a bit. And the wrongs, except for the Rams, the Cardinals, except for those, you guys were pretty much right on. One or two games off here and a team off there, but I mean, you were pretty much right there.
Well, I think it was really the NFC West that kind of hurt. If you'd say where we got wrong, I mean, no one saw the Cardinals and the Rams just taking a crap show. I mean, the Rams finished 5-12, the Cardinals finished 4-3, and no one saw that after Wilson leaves the Seahawks that they would jump up to second place with a 9-8 record. I never saw that coming.
Nobody.
I thought they would dive.
Yep. So, very, very interesting and very impressive. So, congrats to both of you on nailing a whole lot of this, and especially JB. I mean, you had some insights that even when you were wrong, you were basically right, just kind of off of, you weren't true north, just a little off north. So,
hey, well, it's one of those things where, you start digging into a lot of things, and to Ivan's point, like with the Rams and the Cardinals, you just can never underestimate or even overestimate sometimes the injuries within the NFL, because if you lose a Cooper Kupp and a Matthew Stafford from the Rams, or you lose a Kyler Murray from the Cardinals, you're going to be in a whole lot of hurt. But again, also back to Ivan's point, who would have ever guessed Geno Smith would be leading the Seahawks with a rookie running back to the playoffs to face the 49ers, who they've already played twice this year.
Right.
So, I mean, it's crazy.
It is. And it shows you some of the unpredictability. But look, I watch every one of these shows like you guys do and hear all the different predictions before the season. And you guys were as strong as any and better than most. And so, and I know you guys take this seriously. And for those of you who listen in and don't know behind the scenes stuff, they take copious notes. They work on this stuff. It's not like, they picked up today's issue of USA Today and went, yeah, okay, I'll throw a dart at it and say it's this. You put some work into it. It shows, and great job.
Well, hey, we got to have a good mark for our first full season of Clutch Time Sports and getting our predictions, somewhat accurate. We got to build that firm foundation.
That's right.
Absolutely.
So I guess the big question is,
Tom, and first of all, I really appreciate, and so does Josh. We both appreciate you taking the time to go through the archives.
Oh, yeah, that was
great. And really break that down. That was awesome. Really appreciate that.
That's what's a producer for, right?
Let's be fair too, that this was some sports seasons are okay, some are kind of mediocre, and some are good and bad at the same time. 2023, when it came to baseball, when it came to college football, when it came to the NFL, it has been a phenomenal sports year.
Amazing. Yeah, it really has. It will go down in history as one of the best years. We're talking like, dropping back into the mid 70s when you had really, a lot of excitement around all the sports and mid 80s too. But it seems like the sports maybe took a lull there for a little while, but they're working hard on it now. All of them are to put better product out on the field and more entertainment for those of us who are sitting at home watching it. And I think they've done a pretty good job.
Well, it also helps that you get, franchises and cities back into things that hadn't been a part of it for a while, like the Phillies for baseball, like the Lions here this season, or even Miami for that matter. Jacksonville winning their division. I mean, there's so many different stories, that are strewn throughout that 2022 year that have made it a fun year.
The Padre beating the Dodgers. I mean, come on.
which we said here would be the upset of the baseball season, and sure enough, it happened. All right, guys, how do you want to do this next? You want to go into Trey Rings? You want to do your predictions for next week? What do you want to do next?
Well, let's go ahead and if you need to take a break, we can take a break then, because I know the Trey Rings is very exciting, and I actually have no idea what Bank has planned for us.
Okay, well, let's do this. Let's break now, take a short break. We'll come back and run it up to the top of the hour. How's that sound?
That sounds great.
All right, back in just a couple of minutes. You're listening to TNCRadio.live. Stay right there.
TNCRadio.live, your commercial driver navigation station. This blog on TNCRadio.live is brought to you by the Truckers Network at app.thetruckersnetwork.net. 6 safety tips for truck drivers while driving in the rain. As a truck driver, you'll experience driving in dangerous weather conditions. Driving in the rain creates difficult and dangerous driving conditions for truckers. It's important for truck drivers to be alert and cautious when driving in the rain. Check out our 6 safety tips for truck drivers while driving in the rain. Slow down. Wet roads make it difficult for a driver to control their truck. A good rule of thumb is to drive 5 miles per hour below the speed limit. In some cases, you might have to drive more than 5 miles an hour below. Professional truck drivers adjust their speed according to the weather. When driving in dangerous conditions, only drive the speed you're comfortable with. Leave space. Leaving the appropriate amount of space between each vehicle will give a truck driver enough time to react. A fully loaded tractor trailer traveling at 65 miles an hour needs about 5 seconds of space to stop. Drivers will have to increase the space between the cars while driving in dangerous weather conditions. Maintain your vehicle. Having your vehicle routinely checked will make driving in the rain more safe. Frequently check your truck's tires to make sure they have enough tread. Also, check your windshield wipers to see if they're working properly. Avoid standing water. Driving through standing water increases the chance of hydroplaning. Hydroplaning causes a driver to lose control of the truck and can result in serious injuries. Standing water also hides potholes and other debris that might be on the road. It's important to always avoid standing water while driving in the rain. Wear your seatbelt. Wearing a seatbelt is a requirement for all truckers, especially in dangerous weather conditions. Eliminate distractions. While driving in the rain, eliminate all distractions. If you drive with the radio on, turn the volume low so you can concentrate. Avoid touching your GPS or looking at it for long periods of time, and avoid using your cell phone. This blog on TNCRadio.live has been brought to you by the Truckers Network at app.thetruckersnetwork.net.
You're listening to TNCRadio.live. Remember to tune into the Truckers Network radio show with Shelley Johnson, weekdays at 3 p.m. Central, 4 p.m. Eastern.
Welcome back in TNCRadio.live, live on a Wednesday night. And this is Anderson Banker with Clutch Time Sports.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Tom Kelly. I hope you guys enjoyed that last segment. It was really great to recap some of the things we talked about in the NFL, but I'm going to hurry up and get to my introduction because I'm excited. He says I know nothing about this, but I'm not so sure. But there again, he may be right, because we know in the last 4 years, we don't want Trey Rings.
we are back with a triumphant return here in 2023. Trey Rangs. And we'll take a quick break from our NFL recap, really, to get to this week. But after a kind of the last couple of weeks, really, there's a lot of stories we could dig through. But how about some baseball news in January? And we didn't talk about Carlos Correa on the air, but whatever happens with that guy. I mean, he's Minnesota's problem again, so whatever. Mm-hmm. But what I found interesting, Ivan, is that there are 10 MLB umpires, including 7 crew chiefs, that are set to retire this baseball offseason, which will be the largest turnover for the sport since 1999, when they lost 22 umpires after a labor dispute that, they just retired at the end of the century there. Now, Ted Barrett is one of them, who was the first umpire to have a call overturned based on a manager's challenge back in 2014. This is how old we all are now. We're getting umpires that are retiring after being the first ones that are being their calls overturned by a manager's challenge. Their retirements reportedly have nothing to do, with the possible upcoming rule changes and the possibility of an electronic strike zone being implemented. So long, guys. You're out of here. And by the way, every time I think of an umpire, I still think of Naked Gun, Leslie Nielsen behind him. The Dodgers. And that was still my absolute favorite. All right, reg number 2. Ivan, do you know what the single game record is for free throws made by a team without a miss in a game?
110. In a game, not in a season. I'm sorry. I'm going to say 15.
Well, it happened last night. The record was previously set by the Utah Jazz against Portland way back in December of 82. But last night, Jimmy Butler's and one free throw that he made with 12.9 seconds left gave the Miami Heat a 112-111 win over Oklahoma City and gave Miami a record 40 for 40 from the free throw line. Butler alone was 23 for 23, which is just one shy of James Harden's all-time 24 for 24 record that he set back in 2019. And believe it or not, Dirk Nowitzki did it in a playoffs in 2011 when he was 24 for 24 against the Thunder in 2011. So 40 for 40.
And Shaq O'Neal was 24 for 2,400. So that's pretty good,
Mr. Kelly knows when to chime in. That's why he's the best. All right, reg number 3. Fun fact about me. I don't think Tom Kelly knows about this, but I know Ivan does. Mm-hmm. I myself was a prior contestant on which game show, Ivan?
Mr. Pat Sajak, Wheel of Fortune.
That's right. And of course, the subsequent, questions of which show are you going to be on next? Well, not quite that one, Tom. But if all right, we're going to match game now. Okay, is this the 70s? Where's Charles Nelson Riley when you need him? Okay, so Wheel is obviously was on my bucket list, but maybe Wheel will be the next one for former 11-year NBA player Jared Jeffries. Do you remember that name, Ivan?
Yes, I do.
So the former Indiana Hoosier star was a first-round draft pick after being the 2002 Big Ten Player of the Year. He recently appeared on it. And Tom, if you've got sound for this, I will be stunned. But he was on The Price is Right. And he won a brand new car, as the old announcer Rod Roddy used to say. Good old Rod Roddy. May he rest in peace. So playing a game called One Away, Jeffries had to determine if the price of the Toyota sedan that he was trying to win was one number above or below the incorrect listed price that they had on the board. And sure enough, slam dunk, a brand new car for Jared Jeffries. Hey, all right. Beautiful. Now, of course, if he would have lost, we would have needed the sad trombone, but he didn't. And congratulations, Jared Jeffrey. And that is your first edition of 2023 Trey Race.
That was awesome. I did not know that he was even on the Price is Right, but more importantly, the 23 for 23 for Butler as they were 40 and 40 for the Miami Heat. That's really good. There we go.
If somebody would have made it or missed one last night, that's the noise that should have been playing over the loudspeakers in Miami for sure. Okay, we got 5 minutes, Ivan.
Yes, let's go.
Let's get to the wild card of the playoffs,
baby. Yes.
Seattle, San Francisco in Santa Clara Saturday. Who you got?
I got the 49ers.
Me too. Jags hosting the Chargers Saturday evening in Jacksonville.
Jaguars.
This is going to be probably the most entertaining game of the week, and I'm sure
I agree.
This is going to be recorded and played back, at the end of the Super Bowl when we were all talking about playoff recaps. But it'll be interesting because the Chargers got lambasted. I'm really getting into my dictionary tonight. Against Jacksonville at home earlier in the season. So it'll be interesting to see how the Chargers square up against Jacksonville on the road this time. Okay, Sunday morning for us here on the West Coast.
Yes.
Dolphins going up to Buffalo. Do they have any chance at all?
If Tua's playing, yes, but I think he's going to stay in the concussion protocol, so I've got to go with Mr. Allen, the Bills.
I think this is going to be a storybook run for Buffalo.
Yes.
With Damar Hamlin, who we haven't even talked about yet tonight. No. What an awesome recovery that has been, by the way. Just released from Buffalo Hospital today.
Yep.
So he's going home. I mean, hallelujah. I mean, that's
a blessing. You can't tell me that's not an intervention right there, my man.
We had an on-field miracle happen after what could have been a tragedy, and now he's back home. So praise the Lord for that. Okay, yep. Giants in Minnesota against the Vikings.
The Vikings are going to do their thing. They've been playing at a high level, and I can't see them stopping.
It's going to be hard to go into Minnesota and win that game, but I think if the Giants can slow things down and keep Kirk Cousins' offense off the field with Saquon Barkley running the ball, they have a chance. I think they have a chance. If you ask me, this is the one NFC game that has the highest probability of an upset. That's just my opinion for this week.
Yeah, good opinion, but I think they take it.
I still do too. I still think the Vikings win, but I think the Giants have a fighting chance for sure. Ravens on Sunday night visiting Cincinnati. The word is that Lamar Jackson is still not even practicing yet, and if he's not playing, I have no chance of the Ravens winning this game.
This is such a funny game because if you know anything about the AFC North, it is a weird conference, and what you think should happen could just backfire and go the opposite direction. The Bengals should win this game. If they lose, I won't be shocked, but I'm going to go with the Bengals. But I'm just telling you right now, weird things happen in this division.
And I don't argue that point at all. What I think, though, too, is that kind of like the Bills, I think the Bengals have some incentive here too. I mean, obviously they got to the Super Bowl last year, but they were part of that whole Damar Hamlin situation as well. It was on their field. Were. So I just feel like they have some inspiration. I would love it. What a storybook ending to the AFC it would be to see the Bills and the Bengals in the AFC Championship game. It can't happen necessarily unless some things play out. It just can't. If they both win this week, they play each other because the Chiefs would play the lower remaining seed. So, but anyway, I digress. 1 minute left. Cowboys go into Tampa on Monday night. Man, the Cowboys look bad against Washington this last week. Does Tom Brady have one more run in him?
You know what? It's like this. I just think the Cowboys have a problem of getting out of their own way.
Right.
I'm sorry, but I'm going to go with the Buccaneers.
I agree.
I should not be going with the Bucs, but I just don't think the Cowboys, I think they're in their heads.
And they're not playing at home, which I think is going to be a disadvantage for them. Well, We don't have much time left, but we got to send a major shout out. Thank you for Mr. Tom Kelly putting together a terrific recap for us tonight. And thank you all for joining us here on TNC Radio. Don't forget to join us on Instagram and Twitter at Clutch Time TNC. Look forward to seeing you back here next Wednesday night, 6 Pacific,